Hey guys, I'm Rachel Goldstein, and I wanted to do a quick review for you about some of the information I found as far as the best fresh dog food for large dogs. I've had dogs my entire life. My mom's a veterinarian. I was a vet tech for a while, and I've spent a lot of time learning about dog nutrition, and especially when my little dog, he was diagnosed with cancer. So I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole about what to feed him and basically what I could do to prolong his life as much as possible. And while I was doing that research, I shifted focus a little bit into what's best for large dogs as well, because I have a large breed dog who's getting older and is starting to have arthritis, and I just want to do what I can to make her as comfortable and happy as possible for as long as possible. So I did a ton of research on different types of food, and a lot of that turned into fresh dog food. So I just wanted to break down what I learned and give you guys a few things to consider if you're looking into fresh dog food for a large breed dog. If you've ever had a large dog and a small dog, you already know the difference in how much they eat is pretty significant. A small dog could eat maybe 1 cup of food per day, while your big dog could eat 3 or 4 cups a day, or at least the equivalent of that in calories, depending on how big they are and what kind of food you're giving them. So one thing to consider is that when you're looking into fresh dog food, obviously cost will become a big factor just because they're eating so much of it. If your dog is eating a lot of food and it's full of fillers or excess carbs, which a lot of dog food is, unfortunately, your dog is just getting more of that. And that leads to weight gain, which is a huge issue for large dogs. It puts so much pressure on their joints, and a lot of the large dogs are already prone to joint issues. So this is something that you really want to stay ahead of. The other main thing is that many large dogs have issues with digestion, and they can be a little bit more sensitive to food. So what I've learned is that simpler diets and higher protein diets tend to be better for their digestive system. And then, of course, just calorie needs. Large dogs burn more, even at baseline, and that's not even taking into account if they're active. So you need to make sure that the calories they're getting are 1, good calories, and 2, that they're actually getting enough. This is where the situation can get a little bit complicated for some people. Fresh food for a small dog, pretty manageable. Fresh food for a large dog, it can get expensive really fast. So for me, the question became, is the fresh dog food actually better? And is it worth the money, or am I just paying for a trend? Once I started looking into fresh dog food, I realized that it's not quite as simple as it seems. There are a few main categories that you have to choose from. The first is gently cooked fresh. And this is the stuff that's lightly cooked, usually shipped refrigerated. It's designed to be similar to home-cooked meals. It has simple ingredients. And a lot of people like this because it's pretty convenient and feels very straightforward. So an example in this category would be something like Farmer's Dog. This is gently cooked, so it's convenient. You open it, you serve it. And this is one I actually tried when my little dog was diagnosed with cancer. And there was nothing wrong with it per se. It's just that it's not raw. So while it's easy and it's fresh food still, it has gone through the cooking process, so you lose some of the nutrients. It's also a little bit more carbohydrate heavy, which again is just a little bit problematic for dogs who are worried about weight gain, joint problems, and even something like diabetes. Then there are raw diets, which are a little different. These focus on minimally processed ingredients, things like muscle meat, organ meat, and bone. They're not cooked, so they retain a lot of the original nutrients. And a lot of people are drawn to these diets because it's much closer to what a dog would normally eat, like naturally. And it tends to be very protein focused and has a lot less carbohydrates than some of the other food. Then in the raw category, there are 2 options I started looking into, which is frozen raw, which is, the frozen meat that you store in the freezer. You have to thaw it and then you serve it. And then there are the freeze-dried raw nuggets, which they can be stored in the pantry and then you just kind of scoop it out, serve it to your dog. It's a lot more like just typical dry dog food. So then I started looking at a company called We Feed Raw, and I spent a lot of time on their website looking at ingredients and the benefits of raw food in general. You can kind of see they do a comparison between them and kibble. We Feed Raw, it's a dog's ancestral diet. They use high quality meats. Raw helps with optimal digestibility. There's no grains or fillers, and it's a nutrient dense and protein rich diet. compared to kibble, which has a lot of processing and carb heavy fillers that the dogs really don't need. And then if you go down, you can see their ingredients and recipes. And I think this is really important too, because you'll see it's beef liver, beef kidney, beef spleen, vitamins, supplements. And it's just a lot of products that the dogs actually need and should be eating, and so much less filler and preservatives and just things that the dogs really don't need. One of the other things that I really liked about We Feed Raw is just how much it's based on your specific pet. It's not just go buy food and hope it's good. They go through a bunch of different questions: their name, their age, their date of birth, whether they're male or female, if they're spayed, breed, how much they weigh, if they're skinny or a little chubby, their activity level, if they have allergies, and then what the benefits are that you're hoping to get from this type of food, whether that's weight management, longevity, healthy digestion, if your dog is picky, what they normally eat. And then you're going to put in your email address, agree to the terms, and they're going to build the perfect plan and send it back to you. So then they essentially start planning the perfect meal for Spark, which is my large dog. And they come back with the recipes you can choose from, and just what they think is best for the dog that you are actually buying the food for. And it comes out to start at about $30 a week. That's with a discount. So you can see once it's after the discount's over, it comes down to about $64 a week. You can change, pause, or cancel at any time. And so it's just, like I said, it's very customized. It's very simple to make sure that your dog is getting the food that they really need to be getting. So just to quickly recap why large dog owners would be interested in raw food. The first is protein, right? So raw diets are very heavy in protein because they're built around things like muscle meat, organ meat, bone, and things that dogs would eat naturally. The second is the carbohydrates. Most raw diets are very low in carbs, and that is such a bigger deal than I originally realized, because some of the other kind of dog food that we just tend to feed our dogs, they could be 50% full of carbs. And surprisingly, dogs actually don't need carbs at all. So when you're adding 50% of carbs into a diet, it naturally is going to lead to weight gain and possible issues with their joints. And then the other factor is just ingredient simplicity. A lot of people like to know what's in the food. Do you want food where you can actually understand what every ingredient is, or you want other food where you don't even know what half the words mean on the ingredient list? So another option for the raw food is a company called Maev, which is another option that I looked into. When you go to their site, it's a little bit more confusing because there's not an easy quiz. They don't exactly tell you what to buy. You just kind of go to the product, put it in the cart, and hope that you've purchased the thing that's best for your dog. And I guess for a lot of people that might be a good thing, because you're just going and you're buying dog food and you're checking out and that's that. For me, I wanted something that was a little bit more customized for my dog specifically, especially because my dog is bigger and the portion sizes are so important, and the calories and the ingredients and nutrients and all of that. So I do think Maev is a really good option for some people, but for me, I just wanted something that I could customize a little bit more. So now you have all the information, and then it comes down to choosing what is actually the best for you and your dog. And I think what's important to realize is it's not necessarily what's the best diet, but it's about what's the best for you, your dog, and your lifestyle. So the things I would consider are, first of all, budget. Whatever you choose, when you have a big dog, you're going to be buying a lot of it. So you want to make sure that it's something you can afford long term. The second thing is convenience. You want to make sure that what you're actually choosing is something you're going to stick with consistently. Do you want something where you can just open it and serve it to your dog, or are you willing to gently cook some of the food? And then the next thing that ties into convenience is just planning. Do you want to have to plan the meals every day, or do you want to just, like I said, have to kind of pick the food, open it, and give it to your dog? And it really is just, what do you have the time for? What can you consistently do? Because it doesn't matter how good the ingredients are or how healthy the food is if you won't be able to stick to the routine and do this long term. For me, the biggest takeaway from what I learned through my research was, when you have a large dog, you really can't ignore what they eat. They're eating so much of it, and you just need to make sure that it's healthy and good for them. Fresh and raw diets are becoming popular, and I do think that they're both worth looking into. For me, I ended up leaning towards raw just because I like the ingredient simplicity, the protein focus, the ability to control what they eat. I like that they have less carbs and are probably better for keeping my dog's weight steady because, like I said, she's already getting arthritis, and I want to make sure that her joints don't have any extra pressure on them. I really like We Feed Raw as a company because of how easy they make it. They ship the food to your door. If it's frozen, you thaw it and feed it. If it's the freeze-dried, you just store it and feed it. And I don't have to think about what I'm feeding. I don't have to really do anything except just open it and feed it to my dog. And they make it really easy with their subscription model, and it just has worked for me and my dogs. So I hope this helped if you're trying to figure out what to feed your dog, especially if you have a large breed dog. And yeah, I hope this was helpful.